Incredible transformation. Millionaire CEO discovers a little girl drawing alone. What unfolded will leave you speechless. Jack Thompson had the kind of life that most people dream of: a sprawling mansion, luxury cars, and status as a self-made millionaire who built his empire from the ground up. But that evening, as he wandered through the crumbling streets of his inner-city neighborhood, an unsettling void clung to him like a shadow. The bright streetlights illuminated his path, but the sparkle in his eye had long faded. It was there, on the familiar curb where he had played as a child, that he spotted her, a little girl named Lily, no more than 8 years old, sitting cross-legged with vibrant chalk in hand, lost in a world of swirling colors and shapes. Curiosity pulled Jack toward her like a magnet. He approached and knelt beside her, astonished by her talent. "What are you drawing?" he asked, and for a moment, the smile on her face could thaw the coldest heart. "It's my house," she said, pointing to a masterpiece of abstract lines filled with bright pinks and blues, an imaginative escape from the reality she lived in. In her eyes danced the flickering flames of childhood dreams, yet Jack noticed the exhaustion in her small frame, a sign of a harsh life that had certainly not come easy. Their conversation blossomed, revealing layers of complexity. Lily told Jack about her day, her neglectful family who never recognized her gifts, the kids at school who mocked her for her worn-out clothes, and the faint hope she harbored to become an artist someday. Jack felt a painful tug in his chest as his life choices flooded his mind, the climb to wealth having pulled him far from the boy he once was. Yet here was this little girl, her innocence shining like a beacon, reminding him of the dreams he once had. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Jack decided to use his resources to help her shine, to sponsor art supplies and classes, but skepticism ran thick. His wealthy friends scoffed at his motives, and the local community bristled at the idea of accepting aid from someone they perceived as a stranger. Tension grew as Lily wrestled with self-doubt, the weight of the world resting on her fragile shoulders. The fear that her dreams would remain unfulfilled felt more real with each passing day. Jack, caught in a whirlwind of clashes between worlds, felt both the burden of privilege and the looming threat of failure. At a local art show where Lily was set to showcase her work, the tense air was palpable. Jack's heart raced as a prejudiced judge dismissed her creation based on assumptions, igniting something fierce within him. "How dare you?" he shouted, standing up not just for Lily but for a part of himself he thought long gone. In that moment, surrounded by gasps and murmurs, something inside Jack began to shift. He realized their stories weren't just parallel. They were intricately intertwined in ways he could never have anticipated. But just as hope began to bloom, Lily hesitated, gripped by an overwhelming sense of unworthiness. Jack himself had to confront his fears, the echoes of an estranged father teaching him lessons on what truly mattered in life. As he thought of reconciling their past, a new future began to emerge. Together, they could create something beautiful not just for Lily, but for their community. The journey ahead was fraught with challenges, and as Jack and Lily stood at the crossroads, the question loomed large. Could they mend the fractures of their lives to inspire the very change they craved before time ran out? Jack felt the tension in the room wrap around him like a thick fog. His heart pounded in his chest, racing with a mix of anger and desperation as he tried to protect Lily from a cruel fate. The judge's dismissive words echoed in his mind. How often had he turned a blind eye to similar moments of injustice in his own life? Lily sat quietly, her fingers tightening around her sketchbook. Jack could see the flicker of doubt dancing across her face. He moved closer, kneeling beside her. "Hey, it's okay," he whispered, trying to pull her back from the edge of despair. "You are so talented, don't let them take that from you." She glanced up at him, her eyes shimmering with unshed tears, the weight of her dreams clashing with the harsh reality around her. In that moment, it felt like she was carrying the weight of the world, and Jack ached to relieve her burden. "Do you think I'm good enough?" she finally asked, her voice scarcely above a whisper. More than good enough, he replied fiercely, unable to hold back the emotion that surged inside him. You have something special. Trust me, I see it. But the room felt heavy with judgment, and Jack knew they were both fighting battles larger than themselves. He rose to face the judge and the crowd, a mix of skepticism and disdain looking back at him. This piece speaks to resilience, he declared passionately, his voice gathering strength. It's not just art, it's a reflection of a dream. If we can't support that, what does it say about us? His words hung in the air, and a wave of murmurs washed over the audience. Some were moved, others were not convinced. But Jack couldn't back down. He had the power to change perceptions, not just for Lily, but for kids like her, kids who had dreams but felt invisible. Lily's presence at the show had already sparked discussions about talent, acceptance, and community. The doubt was still there, gnawing at her, but Jack was determined to turn the tide. He reached out and touched her shoulder gently, grounding her even in the whirlwind. Let us do something together, he said. I want to help you organize art classes for kids in this community. We can make a difference. Who knows? Maybe this can be the beginning of something big. Lily didn't respond right away, but Jack saw a flicker of light return to her eyes. It was a spark of hope, igniting the possibility of a future where her voice could be heard, where art could bring people together and heal. As they left the show, the night air felt different. The doubt was still there, murmuring in the background, but hope began to drown it out. Jack felt a change within himself, to a rediscovery of the person he wanted to be. For the first time in a long while, he felt connected to something greater than himself. But as they walked down the cracked sidewalk, the reality of their fight loomed ahead. Would the community embrace their vision, or would the shadows of prejudice and misunderstanding cloud their path? Jack and Lily faced a turning point, and as they took those tentative steps forward, they couldn't anticipate what lay ahead. Could they truly inspire the change they craved and bring color back to a community full of gray? The challenge was set before them, waiting for their response. Jack and Lily made their way down the cracked sidewalk, the cool air brushing against their skin. The weight of uncertainty still hung in the air, yet Jack felt a sense of determination swell within him. He glanced over at Lily, who was clutching her sketchbook to her chest like a shield. Let us start planning, he said, breaking the silence. We need to get the word out about those art classes. Lily nodded, her expression shifting from doubt to cautious excitement. Yeah, but where would we even hold them? And what if no one shows up? Jack thought for a moment, trying to calm the storm of anxiety stirring in her. You'd be surprised how many kids are just like you. They just need someone to believe in them. He could almost see the wheels turning in her mind. I think we could do it at the community center. I've seen kids there with art supplies at the park sometimes. That is perfect, Jack exclaimed. And if we make some flyers and spread the word at schools and community events, we could really get something going. For the first time, Jack saw a spark of determination in Lily's eyes. It ignited something deep within him, too. They spent the next half hour brainstorming ideas and scribbling them down on old receipts he had in his pocket. But as they walked, the doubts crept back in. What if they reject us? Lily said suddenly, biting her lip. What if we fail? Failure isn't the worst thing, Jack replied. Every time I've failed, I learned something valuable. It's how you grow. And remember, we're not just doing this for us, we're doing this for all those kids who don't think they matter. Lily's face softened. You really think I can make a difference? I know you can, he said, sincerity pouring out of him. Your art is powerful. You have a way to express what so many of them feel. It could be exactly what the community needs. Something shifted in her, a realization dawning. Okay, let us do it, she said, her voice steadier now. Let us make those flyers, start the classes. But I'll need your help, Jack. I can't do this alone. Not a chance, he replied, grinning. We're in this together. Over the next few days, they worked tirelessly. They printed flyers adorned with Lily's beautiful sketches, outlining the details of their upcoming art classes. Jack spent evenings waiting by the printer, whirring and buzzing around them, his heart racing with anticipation. They hit every coffee shop, community bulletin board, and school they could find. They talked to teachers, parents, and kids. Each smile or nod gave them more motivation to keep pushing forward. Word began to spread, and gradually, excitement buzzed through the community. But as the day of the first class approached, Nerves twisted in Jack's stomach. What if no one showed? Lily traced her fingers over one of her rough drawings, her face looking more serious. What if it's just us? What then? Jack took a deep breath, trying to reassure her. Even if it's just one kid, it'll be worth it. We're here to inspire. That's what matters. We'll create a space. Even if it's just the two of us painting, it'll still be a start. The day finally arrived. They set up at the community center, the room decorated with Lily's vibrant artwork. Jack looked around, hoping for a wave of kids to flood in. Nervous excitement bubbled in his chest. But time ticked by, the chairs remained empty, and doubt slithered back in. Just as he was about to speak, the door creaked open. Would their dream come alive as they hoped? Would the community rally around them? Or would they be left unrecognized, just two voices lost in a crowd? The door opened wider, and to Jack's relief, a small figure stepped inside. It was a little girl, no more than 7, with hair in pigtails and wide, curious eyes. She hesitated at the threshold, glancing around the room, her gaze landing on the colorful artwork displayed on the walls. "Hi," Lily called out, her voice brightening as if the sun had just peeked through a cloud. "Are you here for the art class?" The girl nodded, though she looked a bit shy. Her fingers fidgeted with the hem of her shirt. Jack felt a rush of hope. "Come on in," he encouraged, his heart leaping. The more the merrier. As she stepped forward hesitantly, he could almost see the spark of creativity already igniting within her. "What is your name?" Lily asked, kneeling down a bit to meet the girl's eye level. "Emma," she whispered, glancing around the room again, a hint of a smile creeping onto her face as she noticed Lily's drawings. "Nice to meet you, Emma. We're going to have so much fun today," Lily said excitedly. Jack exchanged an excited glance with Lily. One child. It was a start to as time passed. The two of them set up supplies in front of Emma, and soon after, another child peeked in. Then another. Little by little, kids trickled in, drawn by the bright flyers and word of mouth. A group formed, laughter filling the air, and Jack felt the tension in his shoulders ease. They were no longer just two hopefuls. They were two inspiring voices meeting a community full of young, eager artists. The atmosphere buzzed with activity as the kids spread out across tables, each finding their spot, ready to explore their creativity. Jack couldn't believe how quickly things had changed. His heart raced as he watched Lily dive into teaching, her passion evident in every gesture. She showed Emma and the others how to mix colors, encouraging them to express themselves without fear. "Art is about freedom, guys," Lily announced, genuinely embracing the moment. "There's no right or wrong here. Just let your imagination lead." Jack felt a swell of pride as he observed the joy on Emma's face. She tried to replicate Lily's strokes, but ended up with her own individual twist. And that was perfect. Yet amid the excitement, Jack couldn't shake a feeling of urgency. What if they didn't keep this momentum? Would these kids return? He spotted Lily guiding another child who was struggling with confidently choosing colors. She was in her element, her enthusiasm radiating as she reassured them. But as soon as Jack allowed himself to forget his anxiety, a loud crash broke through the sound of laughter. A group of older kids burst through the doors, laughing and jostling. Their energy was intimidating, and Jack felt his stomach flip. Would they crush this sweet atmosphere they'd worked to create? "Hey, what is going on in here?" One of the older boys scoffed, surveying the room with an arrogant grin. Jack exchanged a worried glance with Lily. His heart raced as he realized the delicate balance they'd built was at risk. Would the older kids turn this sanctuary into a place of ridicule? "Just some art classes," Emma piped up bravely, clutching her paintbrush like it was a sword. Jack held his breath. Would that brave little voice fend off the storm? Or would their dream of inspiring a community shatter in an instant? The older boy's laughter rippled through the room, making the air feel heavy. Jack's heart raced as he watched the scene unfold. Would they laugh at Emma? Would they scare away the other kids? He wanted to step forward, to be the shield that protected their creativity, but his legs felt frozen in place. "Art classes?" The boy echoed, his tone dripping with sarcasm. "Really? You think this is cool? It looks like a bunch of little kids playing with messy paints." Emma's grip tightened around her paintbrush. Jack could see her deflating, the courage she had displayed moments ago wavering under the weight of the older kids' derision. "No, we're creating." Lily jumped in, her voice firm and unwavering. "Art is important. It's about expressing yourself. A flicker of surprise crossed the older boy's face at her outburst. Jack felt a flicker of hope. Lily was brave, but would it be enough? The older kids exchanged glances as they took a step inside the room, the laughter waning slightly, replaced by curiosity. So what? You think you're some kind of teacher? Another older girl added, crossing her arms. You really think they'll come back? They'll just get bored. Jack took a deep breath. Actually, they came here because they want to learn, he said, finally finding his voice, shaky but determined. They want to express themselves in a way that's fun and freeing. You don't have to understand it to respect it. The room fell silent. Jack's heart pounded, each thrum echoing in his ears as he held the gaze of the older kids. He could feel the heat of embarrassment wash over him. Would they laugh? Would they taunt them more? To his surprise, the scoffing stopped. Instead, one of the older boys raised an eyebrow, intrigued. Okay, so what's the big deal about this? Lily, catching the shift in energy, stepped forward. Art can bring people together. It can show how we feel. It can even help us make friends. Jack watched as the older kids exchanged looks, doubts resurfacing in their eyes. A shift was brewing. Maybe Lily's words had cracked the wall of indifference they'd shown. Emma stood a bit taller. I drew a picture of my cat, she said, her earlier bravery returning as she held up her artwork. You can't just call it boring. The curiosity in the older kids' eyes deepened, and for a moment, the weight in the room seemed to lighten. One of the older girls took a step forward to look closer at Emma's drawing. That's cute, she admitted, an unexpected softness in her voice. Yeah, another boy chimed in, nodding slightly. Not bad for a little kid. Jack's heart lightened. Maybe they could bridge the gap. Maybe the older kids would see what Lily, and he saw the beauty in each child's expression, their creativity unfolding before them. Lily smiled at Emma, who had the biggest grin on her face. The room buzzed again with chatter, this time a mix of new and old voices, each navigating the uncertain path together. Can we try it? One older girl asked, her tone shifting. Like, actually make something cool? Sure, Lily said, her eyes sparkling with excitement. We'd love to show you how. Jack felt his optimism surge. Maybe this had been the turning point they needed after all. But as the kids began to chatter about supplies and colors, Jack's relief was short-lived. He couldn't shake the feeling that this delicate balance they'd created hung by a thread. Would the older kids genuinely embrace art? Or would their enthusiasm fade just as quickly as it grew? As the group gathered around, Jack knew they were standing at the edge of something transformative. The real question now lingered in the air: could art truly unite these different worlds? Like the colors on a palette waiting to blend together, the future felt uncertain, yet full of potential. The moment hung in the air, filled with anticipation. Jack tried to shake off the nerves as he glanced around the room. Kids were chatting, the noise rising and falling like a gentle wave, but he couldn't help but worry. Would this newfound enthusiasm last? Lily moved toward the supply table, her eyes bright with inspiration. Okay, everyone, let us gather our materials, she called, and the younger kids flocked to her side. They reached for brushes, vibrant tubes of paint, and scraps of paper, excitement bubbling like a fresh soda can. Jack stood back for a moment, watching the chaos unfold. Emma was reaching for a color, her face a study of concentration, brows furrowed. He smiled, feeling a warmth swell in his chest. This was what he wanted to protect: the laughter, the spark of creativity. But then, out of the corner of his eye, he noticed the older kids were still hovering, their expressions a mix of skepticism and interest. The boy who had originally mocked them leaned against the wall, arms crossed, but strangely quiet now. Jack's instincts told him to stay alert. Okay, Lily shouted, and everyone turned to her. Let us paint. Remember, there are no mistakes in art, just expression. The younger kids scrambled to create, dabbling paint on their paper, colors merging chaotically into a beautiful mess. Jack jumped in, grabbing a brush and a bright orange. He dipped it in blue, creating strange swirls that made the younger kids giggle. Hey, look, a sunset over a sea of blue. He cheered, and the younger kids erupted into laughter, their worries slipping away. As they painted, the atmosphere shifted. Laughter was contagious, and one by one, the older kids began to drift closer. A girl with a piercing gaze picked up a brush, dipping it in green. What should I paint? She asked, her voice softer than it had been. Anything that makes you happy. Emma chimed in, her ears still bright with excitement. You can make it a rainbow. The girl considered this, her brow furrowed in thought for a moment, and then her lips twitched into a smile. All right then, I'll paint rainbows. Soon, the large canvas prepared for the group began to fill with a cacophony of colors, a testament to the chaotic blend of different visions. The older kids painted with a surprising tenderness, their strokes bold yet gentle. Jack couldn't believe it. Could they really be enjoying this? He caught the older boy looking at Emma's cat drawing. Curiosity danced in the boy's eyes, and for an instant, Jack felt a flicker of hope. But it wasn't long before he saw that doubt dance back across the boy's face. This is kind of fun, he said, almost reluctantly. But what is the point? Jack's heart sank. Just as quickly as the moment of connection came, it threatened to shatter. Would this boy never see how art could make them feel alive, connected? It's about connection, Jack said, feeling the urgency rising in his throat. Art is how we speak when words can't do the job. It's about sharing a piece of ourselves with each other. The boy frowned, his gaze flickering between Jack and the vibrant chaos around them. You sound like a teacher, he muttered, a hint of insecurity creeping in. Jack opened his mouth, struggling to find the right words, when Lily piped in, what if art is like a bridge? It helps us connect. The words hung in the air, hope weaving between the colors splashed on the canvas. Jack felt a spark flicker deep inside him. Would the boy come around? As he looked around the room, he saw the kids mixing colors, laughter flowing freely, yet the challenge remained. The weight of expectation sat heavy on their shoulders. Would this bond last? Would they all walk away transformed? As Jack grasped his brush tighter, a question lingered in his mind. How far could this moment stretch their lives? What would happen when the last paint was dry? Jack felt the heartbeat of the moment pulse around him as paint splattered and voices intertwined. The colors on the canvas seemed to breathe, each stroke telling a story. He couldn't help but feel that something incredible was happening, something greater than they all could understand. As the younger kids continued to laugh and paint, the girl with the piercing gaze began to smile genuinely. Her green brush stroke transformed from hesitancy to boldness, each arc of paint growing in confidence. Look, I'm making a rainbow, she announced, tilting her head to get a better angle at her work. The colors shone brighter under the fluorescent lights, a stark contrast to the grayness that sometimes shadowed their lives. Jack glanced at the skeptical boy leaning against the wall. Instead of scowling now, the boy wore a look of genuine intrigue. Perhaps Lily's words about connection had sunk in deeper than anyone realized. The way he observed the bright chaos unfolding around him was different, less judgment and more curiosity. Maybe I'll give it a try, the boy mumbled, still a little unsure, but Jack caught the spark of determination in his eyes when he stepped reluctantly toward the table. Great idea, Jack exclaimed, unable to hide his excitement. Just grab a brush and paint whatever speaks to you. The boy shrugged but shuffled forward, picking up a brush and dipping it into dark blue. Jack's heart raced with hope. This was the moment he had been waiting for, the chance to bridge the gap between the younger kids' joyful abandon and the older kids' guarded skepticism. Jack couldn't shake the feeling that this was about more than just a painting session. The air crackled with potential, like an electric charge before a storm. It was a catalyst, something to bind them together, if only for this fleeting afternoon. We're all artists here, Lily shouted again, her enthusiasm lighting up the room. Let us see what happens when we unite our imaginations. The collective energy surged as one by one, more older kids joined in. The hesitant boy added random shapes, vibrant splashes contorting into rough animals, while the girl painted each of her rainbows with glowing energy. Laughter erupted again, bouncing in the confines of the room. But just as joy seemed to blanket the group, a shadow flickered through the door. A tall figure entered, an adult with a serious expression, scanning the room. Jack's stomach tightened. This person didn't belong in their bubble of creativity. Would they bring judgment or disruption? As the adult's gaze fell on Jack, confusion blended with concern. What is going on here? The figure barked, no warmth in their tone. You shouldn't have all these kids messing around with paint like this. The cheerful atmosphere evaporated instantly, replaced by an icy silence. Jack felt all eyes dart uncomfortably between him and the newcomer. The playful chaos they had built cowered under the weight of impending judgment. With his heart pounding, Jack took a step forward, trying to steady his voice. It's art. We're expressing ourselves. But before he could finish, the adult cut him off. Art. This is a mess, and it'll get you all in trouble. Jack's mind raced. Was this it? Would his dream of creating a community through art collapse before it truly began? Would this adult's disapproval taint the magic they had just started to create? As he looked at the kids, their eager expressions now tinged with worry, he felt the uncertainty seep into his heart. How could he protect this moment? How could he fight for what they had all shared? Then, Lily stepped up beside him, her small figure unwavering. This may look like a mess to you, but it's a lot more than that. We're learning to connect, to be ourselves. Don't we get the chance to create? Jack's breath caught as he saw the adult's eyes soften momentarily, whatever chill had clouded their expression flickering like the paint on the canvas. Would this encounter change everything? Before any further words could be exchanged, Jack felt the world shift again. A collective hope flared, and he wondered, could this moment become a turning point for them all? Would the truth of their artistic journey win over the naysayers standing at the door, or would fear snuff out their spirits before they had a chance to let this connection blossom? Jack's heart raced, caught in the throes of hope and fear. He held his breath, waiting for the adult's response. The room feels silent, charged with a mix of tension and anticipation. Would the softening of that stern expression lead to understanding or dismissal? The adult pinched their lips, looking between Jack and Lily, those bright eyes brimming with determination. Learning to connect? They echoed skeptically, brow furrowing as if weighing Lily's innocent words. You're just splattering paint everywhere. There are rules, kids. An uneasy murmur rippled through the group. Jack felt the air grow heavier, the flicker of color now dimmed by doubt. The spirit they had built together seemed fragile, and he feared it might shatter. But before despair could grip him, Lily's voice cut through the tension again. Art is messy. Sometimes to create something beautiful, you have to let go. That's how we find ourselves. Her voice was small yet unwavering, like a beacon in the gloom. Jack watched the adult's shoulders relax slightly. The ice in their demeanor seemed to crack, just a little. I get that you're trying to express yourselves, they said, tone softening, but you need to be careful. Messy doesn't always mean meaningful. Yeah, but Jack interjected, summoning all his courage. This mess is different. It's not just paint, it's what we feel. It's what connects us. The adult visibly hesitated, their face betraying a flicker of vulnerability. I used to paint, they muttered, almost to themselves, but loud enough for Jack and Lily to hear that a wave of surprise washed over the room. For a moment, it felt like they had uncovered a secret. Jack glanced around, noticing the other kids leaning in, curiosity piqued. The storm of their emotions began to simmer down, eyes glinting with the possibility of rekindling something that once sparked joy. Maybe you could show us how, the hesitant boy chimed in, a hint of a challenge in his voice, like how Lily showed all of us. Jack felt the energy of the room shift again. He watched as the once stern adult's expression cycled through contemplation and an unexpected warmth. It was as if they themselves were caught in that surge of creativity, uncomfortable yet drawn in by the vulnerability of art. I can't just abandon my responsibilities. The adult's voice faltered, wavering between authority and nostalgia. Jack noticed the tension fade slightly with each word. Responsibilities? What about our responsibilities to share ourselves? Lily suggested, now beaming with an opportunity to explore. Maybe art can teach us all something. Jack couldn't help but smile. It was as if a bridge was forming, one they could all cross if only the adult would join them. A quick glance around revealed that the others, too, were silently pleading for acceptance, for connection through creativity. With a deep breath, Jack saw his chance. Look, we're not here to create a masterpiece. We're here to be ourselves. This is our chance, your chance. Isn't that worth a little mess? The adult's eyes flitted over the colorful chaos, the radiance of laughter still faintly echoing. They hesitated, a flicker of fear still evident. But there was also an unmistakable intrigue, the yearning for connection they had buried long ago. Let us the mess know, the art can stay. But you all need to clean this up afterward, they finally declared, voice steadier. And I'll help. Cheers erupted from the kids, and Lily's laughter rang out like bells. Jack's heart soared. They weren't just fighting for their moment. They had transformed the adult's perspective, opening a door to a shared experience that transcended age and fear. Hope flooded the room, and Jack felt lighter than air. But even amidst the joy, a question loomed heavy in the background. What would this new connection mean for each of them once the paint dried, and the world outside came charging back in? As the kids gathered closer, brushes poised to continue their work, Jack couldn't shake the sense that this was only the beginning, and that challenges waited just beyond the door. What would happen when the dust, or rather, paint settled, and the real world came crashing in? As laughter erupted, filling the once stern atmosphere with vibrant energy, Jack's heart beat faster, a mix of elation and anxiety swirling within him. The adult, who had once seemed so distant and unyielding, was now stepping closer to their world of color and chaos. "Okay, let us do this," the adults said, rolling up their sleeves. "But remember, this is about expression. Don't hold back. Let us see what you have in you." Jack blinked, momentarily stunned. It was an invitation, and with it came a surge of hope. He glanced at Lily, her eyes sparkling with excitement. They moved to the nearest easel. Brushes were flying in a flurry of motion, and suddenly the room was alive again. Colors spun through the air. Red, blue, yellow. Each stroke felt liberating as they painted wildflowers, swirling skies, and abstract dreams. Jack dipped his brush into a vivid orange, creating bright suns that harmonized with Lily's dazzling butterflies. The adults stood back, observing them, lips curling into a small smile, their earlier skepticism fading like an old memory. "Look at that," Lily exclaimed, pointing at a spectacular blend of colors that had emerged on the canvas. "It's so bright, like our feelings." Jack nodded, lost in the magic of creation. The paint had become a language that transcended words. Each smudge, each splash echoed their fears, hopes, and shared dreams. With each color, they were not just expressing their youth, but entwining their hearts together, breaking down walls that had too long stood tall. But as the paint continued to dry visibly on the canvas, Jack became acutely aware of the fleeting moment they were in. What would they do once the brushes were put down, the paint all but dried? The real world felt like a looming shadow outside the door, waiting to reclaim what had once felt so heavy. He looked over at the adult, their hands now speckled with paint, laughter mingling with the children's exuberance. Yet he noticed a flicker of uncertainty in the adult's eyes, a battle between allowing themselves to be free and the sting of responsibilities that awaited them just beyond the walls of the room. Do you think this changes anything?" Jack asked softly, as the chaos around him continued. The question hung between them like a fragile thread. "Art can change how we see things," the adult replied, their voice steady yet tinged with an emotional edge. "But it's what happens after that's important. Will you all keep this spirit alive?" Jack frowned, the weight of those words settling deep in his chest. He felt the warmth of camaraderie, the thrill of creating together, but would it last? Could that spark sustain them when they were back in a world filled with rules and expectations? A sigh escaped his lips, and he focused on the canvas, now a whirlwind of colors reflecting the connections they were forging. Each stroke was a promise, but the revelation weighed on him. How could they maintain this sense of freedom when surrounded by a world so keen on order? Suddenly, excitement erupted as the kids proposed to host an art show, inviting their families to see the work they created together. Jack's heart soared at the idea, but an ache stirred within him too. Would their parents understand? Or would they dismiss the mess as simply childish frivolity? "Are you all in?" Lily's voice broke through his thoughts, eyes shining as if they contained the universe. Jack exchanged looks with the other kids, all caught up in the dream of sharing their newfound expression. "Yeah," he said, louder now, waving his paint-splattered hands in agreement. "Let us show them our art. Let us show them who we are." But as the cheers erupted again, a small voice in Jack's mind cautioned him. What would happen when the adult's shift toward connection was tested? Would the world they faced outside be ready for their brightness? As they continued to paint hearts full of hope, but minds clouded with uncertainty, Jack felt a storm brewing within. This was indeed just the beginning. Yet the shadows of reality remained hovering just beyond the door, ready to confront. their joyous chaos. And as the laughter and color poured forth, he couldn't shake the feeling that soon they would all have to confront the truth of who they were becoming, and whether that connection could withstand the real world's demands. What revelations awaited them just beyond the edge of their painted dreams? The day had finally arrived. The art show buzzed with excitement, a vibrant living collage of colors and creativity. Jack arrived early, his heart racing as he helped set up the makeshift gallery within the community center. The walls were adorned with splashes of paint, showcasing the kids' works, whimsical creatures, rainbows, landscapes, and heartfelt displays of emotion. Each painting told a story, reflecting the changes that had unfolded over the past weeks. Lily flitted around, adjusting the positioning of each piece, her smile glowing brighter than ever. "Look at all of them," she exclaimed, her eyes shimmering with joy. Jack stood back, taking in the transformative space they had created together. It was more than art. It was a visible celebration of their shared journey, hope, and connection as families began to trickle in. Jack felt the tension rise in his chest. Would they see the beauty? Would they understand the courage it took for these kids to express themselves so fearlessly? The adult from the other day arrived too, and Jack noticed a newfound brightness in their demeanor, as if the paint from that day still lingered in their soul. The crowd grew, voices rising and falling, kids eagerly chatting about their favorite pieces. Jack spotted Emma pulling her mother to her painting, excitement bursting from her as she described the inspiration behind it. All of a sudden, the doubts he had buried began to rise again. "Jack," Lily's voice drew him back, grounding him. "Are you ready?" Taking a deep breath, Jack nodded, but the uncertainty lingered in the pit of his stomach. He stepped up to the microphone and felt the warmth of the moment wrap around him. "Thank you all for coming," he began, his voice steadying with each word. This isn't just an art show. It's about connection, creativity, and the power we have to express what's in our hearts." He gestured to the children, who stood proudly by their artwork, faces glowing with nervous anticipation. These kids have poured their stories onto these canvases. They have shown us how art can break down walls and create bridges between us. He could see the glances exchanged between the adults, some nodding, others perhaps still questioning. Lily jumped in, her enthusiasm infectious. "Yeah, we've built a community here, one where we can all feel safe to be ourselves. Each painting represents a dream, a feeling, something important." There was a flicker of understanding in the audience, and Jack felt emboldened. Art is for everyone. It doesn't matter who you are or where you come from. It matters that you share your heart. Each word felt like a gentle nudge of encouragement, urging them to see the beauty in vulnerability. Just then, a little boy raised his hand timidly. "Can we show them how we paint?" The room fell silent. Parents exchanged glances, uncertainty hung in the air. Jack smiled, a spark igniting within him. "That's a great idea. How about we invite everyone to join in afterward, just like we did at class?" He glanced at Lily, and the light in her eyes mirrored his own excitement. "Let us create art together," she exclaimed, her voice ringing with conviction. The parents began to murmur amongst themselves, their initial hesitation melting as the kids' enthusiasm began to shift the atmosphere. One by one, the adults nodded. They started to understand. There was something deeper at play here, something transformative spiraling around them. As Jack wrapped up his speech, he encouraged those in attendance to see the art through the eyes of their children, to embrace the colors, the mess, and all the beauty that came with it. Together, we can build a future where every voice matters. Afterward, as the painting began, laughter and joy filled the room. Jack watched as families picked up brushes. Each person joined in the creative chaos that unfolded. For him, it wasn't just about the artwork. It was about witnessing the tangible manifestation of connection, a community realizing the truth behind art. He approached the adult who had once seemed so stern. "Thank you for being here," he said. "Heartfelt. Your support means a lot." With a smile, they nodded, brushing paint off their hands. "Thank you for reminding me that creativity knows no age." Today was beautiful. Jack's heart swelled. Maybe they were bridging gaps that had seemed too wide to cross. Together, they were proving that even the strictest souls could find joy in color and commotion. In that moment, standing amidst laughter and fluid colors blending together, Jack felt an overwhelming surge of hope. They had transformed not only the community center, but also the hearts of everyone that day, opening up avenues for future conversations, connections, and creativity. Art had become their shared voice, a reminder that underneath all the barriers society constructed, the heartbeat of connection was vibrant and ready to thrive. The uncertainty that had crept into Jack's mind faded, replaced with a profound sense of belonging and purpose. And as the paint dried and layers of beautiful chaos filled the room, he knew they had begun to build something lasting, an inspiring community rooted in understanding, love, and acceptance. This was just the beginning, the canvas of their lives waiting to be painted. So what about you? Are you ready to embrace your own creative journey? Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and feelings about this incredible journey. And please, share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait, not even one more second to share. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.